Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. So let's take a look at game film. I just want to preface the game film with giving the Buffalo Bills credit. I mean, they are a for real organization and not a clown show. But let's take a look at what went wrong here. Now, I thought the first drive, they had a good mixture going on. I think that they kind of got away from that due to some early success throwing the ball on the second possession. I mean, I really would have liked to have seen a little continuation of the play calling they had on that first drive. It's, and one thing I'll give the Bills, they kept the Broncos in third and long, not overly long, but, third and sevens, a lot of that. Ever since Super Bowl 50, Kubiak leaves, Wade Phillip leaves, they're just the decision-making by Broncos staff during game time is just monumentally bad. And just another example of this, and there's so many to give, but the latest example is you get a kicker off the street, and not really a kicker, is emergency only, but you're going to try this field goal when you're dealing with, basically, obviously, a high-powered offense, and you want to, maybe pin him back there. You got a chance to do that with your punter. You do have a decent punter. But no, you decide maybe you want to help this guy's career out because that's more important than, winning the game, I guess. So just another example of just bad decision-making by Denver Broncos staff. I know a lot of people want to talk about getting a quarterback. It's always getting a quarterback. Oh, got to get a quarterback. Got to get it because, it's all the quarterback's fault. But at the Denver Broncos, I mean, I'm just spent 14 weeks showing Bronco fans film after film after film of offensive line breakdowns. It's just the Broncos have always, and for years now, have had pass protection problems. And you're never going to have a successful quarterback because I'm going to show you all the time that Josh Allen got to read War and Peace and look up from his book and throw a football. Go back to reading again because he had so much time. For years now, the Denver Broncos have had pass pro problems, and if this doesn't get fixed, I don't care what quarterback. Nobody's going to do any good when you have these kind of problems. Okay, Fant, when he was drafted, one of the knocks was he just is not a very good pass pro tight end. Excellent receiver. He has a lot to be desired as a pass protector. Here he blows his assignment. And what makes this even worse is that there's two offensive players on this guy, and they don't even really touch him. He's almost virtually two players. Two Denver Broncos are trying to keep this guy corralled, and it's just a lackluster effort. And this defender just gets through with no problem. Two Broncos, Royce Freeman and Fant. They don't even. It's not as if they didn't even exist. Poor effort. Poor technique. You're never going to go anywhere. You're going to be a 5 and whatever football team until this kind of stuff gets taken care of. It's just the way it's going to be. But here, Mr. Tweet, I don't get enough receptions and blah, blah, blah. There's a guy named Eddie McCaffrey. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he used to make these catches on the regular from Elway. You do realize, Jeudy, that you're down 14 points and you have to make this catch. And if you think this is hard, I'll gladly show you a guy called Eddie Mack who would catch balls getting hit a lot harder in a lot tougher situations back when receivers really used to get jammed. This guy needs to step it up. Get off Twitter and start catching the ball. One of the very few things that ever went right for the special teams, they were able to recover definitely bad fielding by the Buffalo Bills. I like this play. Nice little misdirection. A lot of teams use it. But I think in the Broncos' case, I just don't think their offensive line can match up with Buffalo. So it's a logical decision from that point of view. Now, the Broncos got lucky in special teams and recovered that muffed punt, but I like what they did in this touchdown drive. Again, it kind of harkened back to their first drive. They, mixed it up pretty good. This is really what's frustrating because this was more typical of the special teams than their recovered miff on their last time out on the field. Here they screw up. This was going on really, quite frankly, all pretty much through the game. Spencer, of course, he missed, and the Broncos luckily recover it. But, of course, they have to have the penalty to go along with it because they just don't have the player personnel with the discipline to get this right. So they end up pinning the offense down deep. When you're playing a team like the Buffalo Bills, you just can't have that. I can live with a pass on the first, everybody's thinking run, and I can live with him throwing. But really what frustrates me is that I know the Denver Broncos do not have the player personnel on the offensive line to bull their way, 10 yards, to give the quarterback some breathing room to set up the passing game. And then during the passing game, their pass pro is so bad. So I'm just trying to explain this offensive line just has to get upgraded so that when you are pinned once in a while, it shouldn't happen all the time, that you can power your way out of that using your offensive line. Fans, you ain't got that in Denver. Now, this is just a really good play by the DB, White. I really wish we could get more of this in Denver, this type of secondary, and they just got better as the secondary for the Bills just got better as the game went on. But I just, like me and Colby been saying, we just don't have this kind of player personnel here. There is one area I believe the Broncos actually have done well all season with, and Locke in particular has done really well with, and that's the 2-minute drill. But before I get into the 2-minute drill, I want to say, because of a total breakdown of the Denver's defense, the Broncos defense, who could not keep the Bills from scoring on I don't know what it was, a 1st and goal on the 30-yard line, the Broncos are forced to really score on this 2-minute drill. In this 2-minute drill, it actually kind of harkens back to the first drive, and I keep bringing that up, where you still get a good mix of plays here. And Locke is taking what the Bills give him. You got Patrick working the sidelines, a good pass that only Patrick can get to. I really think this was a totally underappreciated drive by the Broncos with the people in the booth and the halftime show. This was pretty good. Again, I think that the Broncos are actually a pretty good 2-minute drill team. Now, there's a really good catch by Jeudy. I mean, you need to get more of that and less of those dropsy doodles he does. A really good drive. And Locke, just a great pass. For everybody that wants to give up on Locke, you got to remember, actually, I realize the second half is, really went down the tubes, but Ben Roethlisberger actually had a much worse game than Locke against the Bills just the prior week, so they're not giving up on him. I think it's just, again, you're outmatched in player personnel. We're in the second half. The Broncos are offensively still in this game. However, the special teams again screws up in a huge way. Return by Buffalo on a kickoff, gives Josh Allen and company an extremely short field that the defense has to deal with. And, of course, the Bills have no problem scoring on the defense, which I believe was probably more of a factor in this game than the offense ineptitude, because by the time the Broncos get on the field in the second half, it's already 28-13. This play is so bad on so many different levels. Yes, I realize that you see Drew Lock holding the ball like a loaf of bread, breaking containment. But this play really has to be talked about. This is a horrible play design. Okay, I realize that you're down 28-13. The Bills have taken you out of your game plan from last week that you were going to run. Well, you're not totally out of it, and it actually, you got the whole half still. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to keep the Bills off the field. So it wouldn't even be bad to run the football. But since you're going to throw the football, let's take a look at that. Shurmur only runs 2 wide receivers. That's all Locke has going for him. He's got to try to figure out how to get a ball to 2 receivers in all his coverage. The one time Shurmur should use the back to throw to, he's back there blocking, but he doesn't have to be. Lindsey doesn't have to be back there blocking. He shouldn't be back there blocking. Garrett Bowles picks up this cornerback, okay? And he should have this corner. But he doesn't. He gets, for all of you who say how wonderful Garrett Bowles is, he blows this assignment. But he does hold him up enough that had Lindsey just got on the other side of the pile. There's nothing but space there. Locke easily could have thrown this ball to him, and he has so much room to run. This actually could have been a really big play had Shurmur designed it properly. Lindsey should have been there to catch the ball. He should have been the outlet receiver. Running two receivers into all that coverage with no outlet receiver, you were just asking for this to happen. This is Tre'Davious White again. We talk about Jackson. We talk about these so-called players that are so good, but this guy, we haven't had a corner like this in a long time. I just want to mention that, when I say our players aren't good enough, we need these kind of caliber players. Just, come on. And as far as I'm concerned, the game is over at this time. That's the knockout punch. This goes for a touchdown. Other than this is probably the worst play by the offense. The game's over, so I don't care really about what happens after this offensively.